Welcome to the Community Immunity Series. I really hope you enjoy this selection of hand-picked people that I've chosen to interview to share with you their knowledge and their insights about how you can navigate through these times with physical resilience, with emotional calm. Make sure that you're subscribed so you get notifications of when each interview is being released. Take advantage of it while it's up for the 24 hours. And just know, of course, that if you want access to all of the recordings forever, then you can purchase the package as well. So without further ado, let's dive in and enjoy. All right, Melina, thanks for joining us. I know you're kind of on modified hours as a clinician, still seeing patients, but yeah, schedule is different otherwise. And here we are in this kind of moment of uncertainty. It feels like we've shifted into slow motion. At least it feels like that for me. There's kind of that big kind of scare and rush. And then now it's just kind of like calm as we wait and watch the numbers rise. And yeah, what do you think, just to kind of start this off, what do you feel is most important for people right now to kind of think about, be aware of?
So, yeah, like in terms of how I think of what's going on, I think that I look at it with a bit of a different perspective than a lot of people are looking at this issue. I think that everyone's kind of looking at it as this like evil virus that's going around that that is, you know, a threat to all of us. And how I look at this is I just see this as an opportunity for us to actually be starting to work on our body's internal terrain. Because I think that what this is really showing us is this is showing us how out of balance we are as a population and how out of balance our terrains are. And even how out of balance our ecosystem and planet are out of balance. Because even in order for this virus to even be in as a part of our human species, it occurs because there is such an imbalance in our ecosystem of the earth, of the planet. And what happens is that when you have that imbalance in that ecosystem, then pathogenic microorganisms move upstream and they move out of flow and they end up they move from that animal species to the human species. And so that shows you how out of balance our ecosystem is. And then we have an internal ecosystem. So the ecosystem of our bodies, and that ecosystem needs to be in good regulation in order for our bodies to be able to protect ourselves and self-regulate and be able to if a pathogen comes into our environment, that our bodies can handle that pathogen and effectively move it out. And we have systems in place in our body that are able to do that, these self-regulation and self-healing mechanisms in our body. And when that's out of balance, then pathogens are able to come into our bodies and affect our systems. So this, to me, is not just about that virus. It's about showing us how out of balance we are, or how sick we are as a population. And what I'd like to see happen is that we start to like focus on cleaning up our body's terrain and learning how to do that, and taking that opportunity to make sure our terrain is really healthy, that our terrain is in balance, and part of that terrain is what gets regulated within that terrain is our immune system, and making sure that we boost that immune system and that our immune system reacts appropriately. Because that's also another component of it is how well our immune system works. And like our immune system is a really like intelligent regulating system in our body. And that immune system, you know, it sees an infectious agent, it sees a pathogen come into our body, it mounts an immune response, and then once that it's taken care of that, then we have like regulatory systems, like anti-inflammatory systems that kind of put out that fire, and then our body does its thing, right? And if it's under functioning, then it doesn't see that pathogen. And if it's over functioning, then we have like autoimmune disease. So we have to make sure that that's in check too. So our terrain is a huge part of making sure that we are healthy, our body's self-regulating, our body is in balance.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could go off on that because that's a huge topic for me.
Oh, totally. And that's
Yeah.
the intent of today, is your perspective and help people. I mean, I think already there's probably many people watching that are maybe haven't heard that before. If they have, like, glad to hear that, you know, that's their sense. You know, of course, this virus is being put out as this, you know, I think Donald Trump was quoted, you know, we're at war with the virus.
Yeah.
And yes, for sure, on some level we are, but, you know, I definitely subscribe more to your philosophy that it's all about our terrain and utilizing the systems that we have within our bodies, uplifting our health of our systems in general as the best, you know, defense. Really our only defense against.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that it is really about that internal terrain, and that's what we really talk about in biological medicine. Like if you go back to the 1800s, there was this big debate between Enderlein and Pasteur. And Pasteur, he said, you know, it's all about the external pathogen. That's what causes disease. And that's what really allopathic medicine ends up being based on. It's all about like antibiotics, right? That kill off that pathogen. And I think that's correct to a certain extent. But then there was Enderlein who said that it's that the microbe is nothing and that the milieu is everything, which is that terrain, right? It's that it's all about that milieu. And if we clean up that milieu, then we will be healthy. And now if we have symptoms, the symptoms are due to an imbalance in that milieu. So that's what we really need to be harnessing here. And I think that the challenge is that when I go into a grocery store and I see that the shelves that are empty in the grocery store are the breads and the pastas and the frozen goods and the canned foods and the junk food, like those are the shelves that are empty, I realize that people aren't focused on building up their terrain and making sure that their terrain is really healthy. And I think this is the point in time, more important than any other time, that we need to be focusing on building up our systems and making sure that our bodies are really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of little debate you're talking about, I've heard that put into the analogy of the swamp breeds the mosquito,
Yeah.
the mosquito doesn't breed the swamp, right? So
yeah,
that terrain. So is there anything different that you're, you know, talking about or, you know, speaking with clients on, or is this really, you know, continuing to build the terrain and as you help everyone to do every day, just general health, or are there specific, you know, advice and precautions that you're also giving at this time?
So I think that what we need to do is we have to make sure our defenses are strong. Yeah. And our biggest defense is living inside our digestive tract.
Yes.
So 80% of our immune system is housed in our gut. And so how pathogens are getting in, one of the biggest ways is through our digestive tract. So, and within those mucous membranes of our digestive tract, we have antibodies. So we need to make sure that the lining of our digestive tract is strong and that we don't have holes in it, that hyperpermeability. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that something that lies on top of those mucous membranes is our microbiome, which me and you talk a lot about. That microbiome needs to be in a good balance because that's another huge defense mechanism. And just lying on the inside of that mucous membrane of that digestive tract is our lymphatic system and our immune cells. And we need to make sure that they are strong too. So the biggest way that we can be supporting our system and supporting our defense mechanisms is by healing up our digestive tract. It's our biggest defense mechanism, both on a physical, a biochemical level, that those are strong, and that will help to make sure that our immune system is strong and that things aren't getting into our body that shouldn't be there. And so we got to build up those defenses.
Totally. And I had a conversation with Luca Simmons, who I know you know, and she's really big on things like meat stock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What she describes is heal and seal the gut.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything kind of above and beyond that for those that may be in that position of like, and what might be signs? Obviously, IBS and different digestive issues might be an indication of that.
Yeah. Well, I think that unfortunately, most of us have that leaky gut or hyperpermeability of the gut to some extent or another. So I think it's something that we all need to work on and we all need to be thinking about. So, for me, it starts with food. So it's removing what I call major inflammatory foods, because those are the foods that are going to be causing those holes in the gut. Yeah. So we need to be removing the gluten, the cow's dairy, the sugar, the processed foods, fried foods. I know all the stuff that people think are good, right? And are
all the stuff that people stocked up on for this.
Yeah,
pandemic, right?
Exactly. So and for sure they can be comfort foods, but those are the foods that actually need to be out of the diet, because that's what's causing the holes in the gut, and that's what's causing a whole bunch of inflammation in the digestive tract, and can be overburdening the immune system. So it's a huge reason that we need to be getting rid of those. So that to me is the first step, is make sure we remove those major inflammatory foods.
Yeah.
Then we need to do things that help to balance out that microbiome. So that microbiome is kind of like the ecosystem of microbes, bacteria and fungus that live within that digestive tract. And I know your audience will be familiar with that microbiome. Yeah. But it's, getting some of that, those probiotics in, getting those prebiotics in, and making sure that we grow a really healthy microbiome, because that's going to be a huge part of our immune system. So, we do that with those natural probiotics that you guys make, some, beautiful ones in your office there, or in your store there. And with the sauerkraut and the kimchis, good strong probiotics. And then we need, and then the prebiotics. To me, prebiotics are really just the fibers in our vegetables. Yeah. So just making sure we're eating vegetables in our diet. So fiber is going to play a big role in feeding those healthy bacteria. And then they also help to sponge and hold on to toxins and make sure that those toxins effectively move out of the body.
Yeah.
And then in terms of that sealing of the gut, some of the ways that we could be doing that is with those meat broths or bone broths, depending on what people can handle, right? In terms of that histamine production, whichever way works, but that's good ways that are going to help to heal. And we have like things like collagen and some natural beta glucans. And I know that another thing they have at the store there is that lion's mane has high in beta glucans. So, these sort of things are going to be helping to seal up the gut and make sure that our defenses are really strong. And then reprogramming and supporting the immune system. So, we typically do that with some of our what we'd call glandulars, which are part of the immune system, but just helping that immune system to react appropriately. So we don't want to underfunction, we don't want to overfunction. We want it to be able to, if something comes into your environment, that it's acting appropriately. So yeah, for sure, we're using different immune herbs to help support that. But I think that that's something that also people are, talking about. They're trying to find the latest and greatest immune herbs when we have to focus first on that defense mechanism. But for sure, immune herbs are going to be beneficial, and the nutrients that are going to help to guide that. So just your simple things like your vitamin D and helping to boost the immune system. C is one that I've personally ramped up on, because we need those C's, and I put D in for sure into my protocol. I'm ramping up my immune system too, because I'm making sure it's strong, because I'm also coming across lots of people, and I want to make sure that I keep my system strong. And D, the best way is actually to just get outside. So spend some time outside in nature. And we just got a puppy, so I'm forced to kind of go out and take him for walks, which forces me to get outside.
walks and mood elevation too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because he's always in a good mood, always happy. So we're doing that, and then doing all the stuff to help your body detox too, right? So drinking lots of water, making sure we do some movement, which helps to get the lymphatic system moving. We're doing things, even helping to detox, believe it or not, is getting good, high quality sleep. Right. Because your sleeping hours is when your body does a lot of its repair and regeneration and detoxification. And so if we got to make sure that we prioritize sleep. Yeah. So it's, all these kind of good habits that we need to be doing in order to keep our system strong. And even in these times, we have to think about doing things to kind of decrease the stress. Right. Don't get caught up in all the stress and worry and fear that's being put on us. Yeah. And, I'm even saying, it's just taking it one day at a time. Yeah. And just seeing how it goes, right? Because our lives are totally, all of us, the lives are changing, and I do think, I'm not against all the precautions that are happening. I think that our healthcare system can't handle a huge overload of tons of people being sick at one time, and so we do have to take these precautions at this point in time. I'm supportive of it. I'm understanding of it. But yeah, I think it's also, and we have to see it as an opportunity to clean up our systems and make our systems better.
Yeah, so that, if and when, because it's only a matter of when until the next, something virus that's going to go around. Yeah. So further speaks to your point of let's, build our health and build our immune system so that we can deal with these things. And, it's not a threat of like a societal shutdown. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we have to do it, at an individual level, but we also have to do it as a population. Like we have to have a collective evolutional change, right, so that we're all doing this, because then we become healthier as a population. And we all have to be doing the work on an individual level and then as a collective level, so we all support each other through it.
Yeah, so my guess is a lot of people that are watching are, on this path, right? They always have an interest in natural health, and they're moving towards that, in their own life. And I think you would agree in what you're saying is that that's the most important, work to do, number one. And then second would be to try and somehow, influence society to get on board and all collectively upgrade.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or suggestions on how each of us can do that?
Well, I just always think that we have to each do it ourselves, right? And then when you're a role model, then people can see that you're healthy and catch on. So I always think that it starts with the individual, and then I think that, you know, the stuff that you're doing in terms of education and all of these summits that are happening. I've been a part of some other, you know, other summits as well, and it does help to widen that consciousness, right? That health consciousness, and get more great information out there to people who are interested, and then even just, you know, they might be slightly interested, and then they get more into it as more education shows up for them to grab, and for them that makes sense to them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I think that's a matter of time too. I think that that's what's going to happen too, is that we're going to become more health conscious.
Sure, and hopefully be able to weigh out the costs of doing so or not doing so. I mean, maybe likely some of the arguments that would have been made for more proactive health measures are like, well, that's too costly. But now that we're going through this and we're seeing the economic cost,
that's true too.
Right? So
yeah,
if in, you know, policymakers, decision makers, and us as voters, and a part of that really demanding more investment in health. Yeah, that's great, because I never really think of that, because I know that when I talk to, you know, like my American colleagues, I feel like the difference is in the system, and I'm not saying that the US system has a good healthcare system at all. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that what Americans do realize is how much healthcare costs. Right.
So they have that awareness. Whereas within our system, people think that healthcare is free, right? And so they don't realize the cost of it, and that, you know, that doing things in terms of, because we can't use the term, oh, well, if you do this, it costs less than chemotherapy costs in the future, right? You can't do those cost comparisons in Canada with our healthcare system. So that's where, you know, you're like, that's where, you know, our American colleagues kind of have the advantage, where they can be like, let's do some proactive care now, because you don't want to have to pay that big bill later on. But maybe this will kind of help people to understand to make health a priority. I also do like to point out to my patients too, not from the health perspective, but in terms of like that there's still hope in all of this, right? And that as we make these changes, our body is constantly like breaking down and building back up. And, you know, like we have new white blood cells every 3 to 4 days. And every time we make these changes, we are making that immune system stronger every day. And we make new gut cells, the gut lining cells, every 5 to 7 days. So, you know, like as we make these changes, we are just constantly making our bodies better. And so there is a long-term reward for us making these changes. And, you know, you take it day by day, but we need to be day by day making improvements.
No, for sure. And what I love about that too is as people make those changes, the body is self-healing, regenerating, repairing, and the choices that we make in our food, which are going to be more beneficial to our body, are actually more beneficial to society, right? And how we started the conversation is that we're living in a society with systems and ecosystems that are very compromised, and are kind of the weak points. And as we make better choices for ourselves, we're actually making better choices for healthier systems, right? And you know, about eating vegetables, we just started hosting the YYC growers, basically like a CSA type share of, you know, local producers, and
Okay, yeah.
coming in, and people can pick up all their, you know, locally grown, you know, vegetables and produce like that. And you know, that's creating a more healthier, more resilient ecosystems, as well as internally as well. So
yeah, and I love to see that too. I love to see that movement, because like we are interconnected with our environment, and the healthier our internal ecosystems are, in order for our internal ecosystems to be healthy, we need our environment to be healthy, which means that we need to be supporting healthy growth of foods. And I think that that's part of what's kind of like destroying our system, is that like the kind of the mono agriculture with using using like the herbicides and pesticides, which are really just like ruining our soils and ruining that ecosystem, and then we're growing foods that are unhealthy for our bodies. And so I think that they're all very much connected, and as we start to clean up our systems, that we'll see the need to clean up our ecosystems and our environment and the planet.
yeah. Yeah, hopefully that's a silver lining through all this, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping. But the challenge is that I'm seeing the fear kind of run rampant through people, and people just getting all scared, you know, like, you know, people are even scared to come pick up products because they don't want to be exposed to other people. And so and you know, and even like within the clinic, how, you know, we're wiping everything down and cleaning everything up, as I'm sure you're doing in the store too, right? And just because people are so scared of the virus, and not thinking about you know, let's just make sure. I'm going to make sure, because what I'm going to make sure is that I get my terrain really cleaned up, right? And we stay on top of that. And I think that that's going to make the biggest difference in terms of our overall health.
No, absolutely. So it was awesome. So we talked about, you know, creating that terrain, the foundation at the gut level, microbiome, and then we kind of traveled into kind of the immune system. You talked about glandulars. Is that taking specific supplements like actual glands, or?
Well, the one I specifically use is like a Bayer's patch, which is the gut associated lymphatic tissue. And the Bayer's patch, it really does help to support the immune system and re-educate and reset that immune system. Because what happens over time is that immune system, because you get like those little holes in the gut, you get food that's not completely digested ending up in the bloodstream. And then when it's there, the immune system gets activated, and the immune system is now seeing that food as foreign, because it shouldn't be getting into the bloodstream that way. And then we have an immune system that continuously gets activated every time we're eating a certain substance, or a toxin is getting into our digestive tract, because it's getting into the bloodstream the incorrect way. It shouldn't be getting in through that gut lining. And over time, that immune system just gets overtaxed, and then it isn't working appropriately. So, you know, you seal that digestive tract, you rebuild that microbiome, and then you have to also work on resetting that immune system so that it's reacting appropriately. And that's what the Bayer's patch helps us to do.
Right. I imagine there are certain, you know, in the case of this thing here as well, supplements that you have access to as a naturopath that can recommend, that are very key in a lot of people's journey, that are just not commonly accessible, let's say, in a health food store.
There's a couple that I work with, and I've been getting patients on those as well, just because I think that those play such a huge role in helping to build up the immune system.
Yeah.
Because it's always finding like high quality supplements that are going to be effective, because that's a challenge too, is that not all of them out there are created equal. So it's finding those high quality sources.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got lots of resources online for folks to kind of keep going deeper into your work.
Yeah.
Kind of give a shout out of some resources that you have available.
So I think one of the big ones at this point in time would be my Heal the Gut course. And that Heal the Gut course, what it's talking about is building up these defenses. So it just goes basically a deeper dive and more detailed. And I go into supplements and what to use and how to do it in order to really build up that gut health. And by building up that gut health, we are building up a strong immune system, and we are reestablishing a good, healthy terrain. To me, the digestive tract is the key to good health. And if we don't have that strong, healthy digestive tract, we can't have a healthy immune system. So that to me is one of the key aspects of our health. I have a detox course, so just going through teaching people how to properly detoxify the body in a really systematic way. Because I think that people kind of get caught up in, okay, I'm going to do a liver detox or a gallbladder detox or a colon detox, but really you have to do it in a certain way, or else you could be making yourself sicker. And so I kind of walk people through a proper way to do that detox. I have a Balance the Thyroid. And really it's just, it's focused on the thyroid, but it's a balance your hormones, because that plays an important role to make sure our systems are working well. And the other one that kind of pairs with my book, which is Building a Healthy Child, is, I think the course is called also Building a Healthy Child. But that goes through how to build a baby's health, a gut health, right from the beginning. So which is actually where I was supposed to be right now. I was supposed to be doing a TEDx talk tomorrow in New York City. Which got postponed. So I think everyone's life has been affected, but that's how mine was affected. That's where I was supposed to be. But
oh man, well, I'm glad to hear it is being postponed.
I was happy that it was postponed and not canceled, or didn't change the date. So because for the longest time they were actually planning to still run it, and they were just going to see who could show up, and then they did postpone it after New York went into lockdown.
It's definitely a no-go now. So well, you are here, you are available in Calgary. I know you've got modified hours. It's the Naturopathic Medical Center. You can find Melina at advancednaturopathic.com. So she's in the Northwest here in Calgary. And are you beginning to shift into the online space as well?
And so I'm doing online consults. And then we're just doing like essential services in terms of IVs and like our local hypothermia for more of our chronic disease cancer patients. So those are in office, but I am available by phone consults and the telemedicine.
Yeah, speaking of IVs and New York, I just saw a little post recently about how that's one of the ways in New York they're treating this virus is through intravenous vitamin C.
So there's been some research that has been showing that just came out of China, because they've just kind of dealt with this coronavirus, and they've showed that it was just published in the Lancet actually just last week, that high dose vitamin C IVs have been effective for treating people with the coronavirus, which is pretty promising, because under the conventional system, they're basically saying that at this point in time, there's no treatment for it.
Yeah, so that's something, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, you'd be able to facilitate.
Potentially.
Okay, I don't want to
Good. Well, because under our license, we cannot say that we have a treatment for.
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I get you. I'm reading between the lines here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of
Yeah.
dancing between the lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you've been picking up on in your kind of reading and research around this that stuck out? You know, as in the case of intravenous vitamin C.
Yeah. So vitamin C is and even because I posted that on my social media page too, and got some questions. And I think that doing oral C can be effective too. So preventatively wise, and in terms of building your immune system up and making sure your system's stronger. So just, what everyone should be on. I really like the liposomal vitamin C, so that it gets absorbed into the system right away. But any type of vitamin C, upping those doses would be beneficial. Yeah, I think that there's lots of good immune boosting herbs and supplements, from vitamin D to zinc. Just making sure that we have all of our trace minerals. I think that the other component that probably doesn't get talked about a lot is fats. That fats actually play a big role in terms of viruses, because fats actually form the cell membranes, and we want those cell membranes to be flexible and proper permeability. And if they're too permeable, then things can easily move in and out. And if they're too impermeable, then they're a good hiding spot for viruses. So we want to make sure that we actually get a good even amount of healthy fats in the diet too. So that's probably another aspect that hasn't really been talked about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff coming out in terms of the virus, how it's getting in the body is they figured out with one of the receptors it's getting in is the ACE2 receptor is coming into the body. And so just being careful with people who are on ACE inhibitors for heart disease. The high blood pressure patients are definitely at a higher risk. It tends to be more susceptibility in terms of lung pathology. So if patients are having weak lungs, and when I would say weak lungs, usually it's a history of asthma. If they have a history of bronchitis, so if they've had bronchitis any point in their life, if they've had pneumonia at any point in their lives, then I put them under the weak lung category. And for weak lungs, we want to make sure that we have them on some lung remedies to support those lungs, because that seems to be a part of the body that gets hit with this virus. So you want to make sure that we're supporting lungs. And we have a number of different remedies that we do for that, but one of the nutrients that we use is the NAC. So the N-acetylcysteine is a great one for helping to support the lungs. There's different remedies to help kind of break down the mucus that can kind of build up if we have a high amount of infections. And I'll tend to use like things like proteolytic enzymes to help break down those mucus layers. So yeah, as we find out kind of more about the virus and how to support it, there's lots of different therapies. I think that yeah, you have to realize there's hope, because I think that when you listen to the news, they keep saying that there's no therapy for it, there's no treatment for it. You just have to kind of wait it out at home and hope for the best. And I believe that's not the case at all. That there's a lot we can do to help support the body and make sure that the body's strong and help to support the body through that infection.
Yeah, totally. No, I think you've given a lot of people insight and hope today, just starting with that foundation of that really is, it's all about the terrain, and that's the work that we should just continue doing. If we're already on that path, or if we're just beginning, that's the way through to move beyond this pandemic and who knows how many in the future, even just the kind of general colds and flus that go by seasonally every year. To hopefully avoid any of the major chronic lifestyle diseases that our society faces already, and are just equally as or more so a threat to most of our population. So yeah, thanks for sharing and providing that foundation and that insight. And any kind of like final thoughts you want to leave with us before we sign off?
Well, I think that like people are so scared of the virus, but I think that like we know and understand viruses actually quite well. It's not something that's really foreign to us. Like viruses have been around for billions of years, and they're part of our ecosystem, and so we actually understand them, and so we just have to understand now how to make sure that we support our systems. I think that it can be scary, but we also understand how a virus works, right? Like viruses, they're small, they're intelligent, they need a host in order to survive. So they need to be going into our cells. Then they replicate themselves inside our cells, and then they have their different avenues to try to continue replicating. Ideally, viruses don't like to kill their hosts, because then they can't continue to replicate. Right. So we understand a lot about viruses, and it's not some crazy thing that is coming into our environment that we don't know. We know what it is, and yes, it does seem to be more virulent than other viruses out there. But yeah, the more that we can support our systems, make sure our systems are stronger, the better able that we're going to be able to handle this and get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I really appreciate that optimism and all the practical information you've given. So definitely in a world of a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty, this comes as a welcome light. So thanks thanks for being on. If folks want to find you, advancednaturopathic.com, as well as social media, what are your handles there?
So Instagram, I'm Dr. Melina Roberts, and Facebook, it's just my clinic page, which is Advanced Naturopathic. What other handles? I think my Twitter is probably Dr. Melina Roberts, but the place where I probably hang out the most is Instagram. So
yeah, for sure.
You can see me there. Yeah.
All right. And you're not on TikTok yet, eh?
I'm not. I know. Even I have a 12-year-old daughter who's very much on TikTok, and I keep threatening to say I should be on it but no, I haven't ventured to TikTok. Have you?
Oh yeah, we're on there.
Oh yeah. Are you're making little dances?
No, we're not doing the dances. Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah, but you will soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Maybe I should join TikTok so I can see your
yeah, no, totally.
doing on there.
They'll give us a follow, like Seller, as well as myself personally. So
Okay.
yeah,
Fun stuff.
yeah, that's what it is. We're just putting out fun, kind of informative little tidbits, and yeah, it's a good platform. So
Okay. I'll have to evolve to there. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the call, and folks will reach out to you through this, and yeah, stay well, calm, and positive through all this, which I know you are. So
Cross. Thank you. Bye.
yeah, bye-bye.
Really hope you enjoyed that interview. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are receiving notifications of all the videos coming out. And if you want access to the entire video series, something that you can replay, you can share with friends and family, then definitely make sure you take advantage of the offer to get access to all of that. And thank you again for being part of this community and this series called Community Immunity.